there's not always a buyer at market price. So if you buy it right, so let's see, 400,000, 40%, that means they're going to pay 160,000. You'll say, oh, 160,000, oh my God. What if it takes more than a Band-Aid to fix it up? The key to the business is you're trying to get bargains that you can sell to other people quickly.
We have a really exciting video lined up for today. It's tax assessed value versus market value. And today we have Ted Thomas, who has been teaching newcomers for over 30 plus years on how to invest in tax lien certificates and tax defaulted property. Okay, Ted, so let's go ahead and get into it. In my hands right here, I have the questions that came from your social media websites. So question number 1 comes from Andrea on Facebook, and she wants to know, when researching properties to buy at a tax deed auction, I noticed the market value was higher than the assessed value. Can you explain the difference?
Okay, well, there's a lot of values on real estate, but first understand that all 3,000 counties can sell tax defaulted property. Now, tax defaulted means just that, tax defaulted. So assessor or assessed property is nothing more than the tax assessor value of the property. Now, the tax assessor could have this value, let's say 100,000, but when you got there, if it was in poor condition, that means the assessed value was too high. Or what if you got there in better condition than the average, then the assessed value could be too low. So the assessed value is just that. It's what the tax collector says is the value of the property. So they go out and do measurements and they figure out how many bedrooms or what neighborhood it is. Okay, that's the tax assessed value, all right? So all property must be assessed because our democracy, our government says, look, everybody has to pay taxes, so we'll have an assessor go out and figure out what all the values are. So that's a tax assessed value. Sounds like a long answer, but it's important to understand a tax assessor assigned that value. Now, what's a market value? Well, a market value is a value that someone's willing to pay for the property. All right, now what would someone be willing to pay? Well, if it was the best one in the neighborhood, and it had, it really looked nice and it was in a great area and people really liked it. It had a lot of appeal, maybe a pool in the back that people liked, or it was a neighborhood like, or something like that. It might have a higher market value than the assessed value. So assessed values, generally speaking, could be lower than the market value. But let's face it, what business are we talking about here? We're in the tax defaulted business. So we're really looking at properties. We're looking at slightly used and abused properties. So we might not have a high market value. We might even have a lower market value than the assessed value. It could be either one, but there is a difference, and it's very important that you understand that.
Another question we have comes from YouTube, and they want to know who is responsible for determining the assessed value of a property.
Okay, well, the county, every county is going to have tax assessors, okay, and they're going to go out and view properties. Now, they don't go up every week and view properties. But let's say you lived in a small rural county, they'd have a tax assessor who might change that assessment every 2 or 3 years. And generally speaking, values go up. Certain areas decline, but generally speaking, property values go up, and they'll go up a certain percentage. So they'll reevaluate properties every 2 or 3 years. Now, that's something to keep your eye on, because if you think about that when you're trying to buy property, what if the values have taken a jump of 10 to 15%? Well, a 10 or 15% on a $400,000 property, you're now talking about $60,000, $70,000. All right, so that's important. Now, in a county that's a big county, by that I mean big in population, like a Los Angeles or some of the counties around New York or Houston, those counties are going to have 100 tax assessors. They'll have a huge office taking up 2 or 3 floors of the county building, so many people, because they have so much property, and I'm talking about billions of dollars worth of property to reassess. And so they're just constantly doing that. So they'll pick a zip code or a certain area and they'll do that one, but they will continuously be reassessing. That's a government job that has to be done every year because we require that so everybody's treated fairly within the tax system.
We have another question here from Twitter, and they want to know, can the assessed value of a property affect the price of property tax?
Exactly. The tax assessor is assessing the value of the property. It's as simple as that. When you see assessed value, that's what the property, it's the ad valorem tax. That's the fee that's going to be charged. We're not talking about appraisal now. We're not talking about after repaired value. You're talking about assessed value. That's what's going to be charged in taxes.
Okay, we have another question that comes from YouTube, and they want to know, how frequently are assessed values and market values updated? Where could I find this information?
Okay, it's very easy to find assessed value of property. The assessed value is always at the county. So if you research a property will have a number, like you have a social security number or you have an ID number of some kind. The property always has an ID number. So you can easily find the tax assessed value of any property in the United States. There's only one number for that county and that state. There won't be a similar number anywhere in the state. You look up that number, it will tell you the tax assessed value of the property. It's always there, it's always available 24/7, 365.
Okay, last question we have comes from Ava off Instagram, and she wants to know, should I be using the market value or the assessed value when deciding my max bid at a tax deed auction?
Okay, so let's think about the environment that we're working in here. We are not traditional real estate people. Okay, we're not doing anything that's traditional. This is a contrarian market. Why am I in a contrarian market, and why are you asking questions about contrarian market? Because this market, what we're trying to do is we're trying to buy it low, and my suggestion and opinion is sell it low. In other words, below the tax assessed market value, whatever value you come up with, I want to sell below that. If you're worried about the market value, you should be worried about the market value because you're going to try to sell the property. You're trying to sell this property. All right, so a market value is different than an assessed value. Assessed value, the government said, this is the value of the property. A market value is determined by what a willing buyer will pay. So there's a lot of difference, okay? One is an assessed value, it's a firm value established by the county. A market value is going to have a lot of different things that are evaluated. What's going to be evaluated? What's the neighborhood like? Where is it? Is it a great neighborhood? Is it maybe a poorly maintained property in a great neighborhood? That might be a good deal for you because the value is going to be down to assessed value. People won't like it, all right? But you say, well, wait a minute, maybe I can fix it. So now you could talk about an after repair value, an ARV value, all right? But you want to know about the market value. You're worried about the market and you want to go there and look at how you're going to find that value. Well, you're not a trained real estate appraiser, so what are you going to do? Very easy, either get a broker or do it yourself. Compare values in the neighborhood. Ask people, find all the for sale signs, okay? Get on Trulia, go on multiple listing service. You could do all of those things just like you were selling a property to evaluate yourself. So we're buying in an unusual market that's not traditional. Yes, you can look at all these values, but when you do, what you really need to figure out, basically simple, can I buy it at this price? Do I have some margin to what I think the value is? For example, $100,000 value, you think, can you buy it for 20 or 30 cents on the dollar and have margin there? If you've got margin, that's what this business is all about.
If you guys have any questions about today's video or any questions in general, you can always leave them in the comment section and they will get answered right away. Ted, don't you have a free gift for the viewers who are watching today?
Okay, the challenge is, it's a wonderful challenge. This is what the challenge is. The challenge is nationwide, we have more than 5,000 auctions, more than 5,000. And on the 5,000 auctions, they could have anywhere from 50 properties to 2,000 or 3,000 per property. So it's a business of abundance. All right, that business of abundance is separated into 3,000 counties. Now, how are you going to track 3,000 counties? What we had to do in the old days is we bought newspapers, and then we bought newspapers, and then we bought auction brochures like this. We brought auction brochures that look like this, you know, with thousands of products, and we had to buy a newspaper. I'm just going to get a newspaper. We bought newspapers, so that's how we had to look up properties. Now, if you try to do that with 3,000, you're going to be, I'm in a studio now. My studio would be full of newspapers. It would be full because there'd be so much information. All right, so what we did, you just move your cursor across the county, and now find out when the auction is, how many properties they have. Then you can actually go into depth and go right into the county and find out that tax assessed value, You're going to have to figure out your own market value. You're going to have to figure out your own ARV, ARV, after repair value. You can do all that. You can do it sitting on your Rusty Dusty. It's right below me. If you'd like to do it, there's a demo there.